Okay, people. So I am joined today by Gino McKoy, right? Who's a singer, a director, a writer, a producer. We should probably just list the things you don't do, Gino. Like, welcome to the podcast, man. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you so much, brother, for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
No worries at all. So, it's some big times for you right now. You've got a film dropping, you've got a single dropping. How are the emotions, man? How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good. This is actually a re-release of the movie
Yeah.
because we had an initial release on July 12th, and we faced sabotage from from some of the theater chains. Regal and Cinemark refused to play our movie, even though we were tracking over 120 million views, and we're on National Research Group where they normally check to see what films they want to show in the movie theaters. We did well on that. But I felt like it was a bit of discrimination against them, against our movie, because we are also a threat to like the studio films are coming out at the same time, like Long Legs and Fly Me to the Moon. So, independents have a rough time when it comes to theatrical releases. And we thank God that we had this theatrical release on July 12th, but we faced a lot of sabotage, a lot of undermining. So we wanted to come back out with, this release on September 20th, which is in 2 days.
Yeah, yeah. With cinema, like cinema has changed a lot over the years. Like
Hmm.
back in the day, there used to be those spots that were like basically just independent films. Like, you don't really get that anymore. Mo
No.
like, a lot of those spots, like, here there was a chain called Picture House, and they used to show so much independent stuff, but they got bought by, I feel it was Odeon. I think Odeon bought them, or, or View. One of the big chains bought Picture House.
Hmm.
So, it now doesn't show, like, anywhere near the indie films it used to. You know what I
And
mean?
and
So
it's like and that's like a tragedy because
yeah.
um the problem that independent filmmakers have right now is that their revenue streams are being taken away because you have less theatrical release windows.
Mm.
Because going to theaters was one theatrical release window, and then it would go on to SVOD, AVOD, pay-per-view, everything else. And we had all these other windows, but now DVD, home entertainment, of course, but now it's strictly streaming,
Yeah.
AVOD, SVOD, and stuff like that for a lot of these guys, and you got to make back your money on that. When theatrical, we used to have like a ability to go to theatrical, then home entertainment afterwards with DVDs and everything else, and that was a big way of getting return on investment and giving a lot of confidence to investors to put money back into independent cinema.
Mm.
But the problem right now is, like with our release, we went out against Long Legs and they took like 1,000 of our screens and gave it away to Long Legs the week
Yeah.
of and the day of. And we had people screenshotting on the internet, on Twitter and all the other platforms. Well, X now what it's called, but saying what happened to the Showtime and it would disappear.
Mm.
And our attorneys and everyone else were investigating that whole thing right now because it was unfair to us that we put so much money and millions into marketing this independent movie, and we're trending so well on social media platforms, and then we got the rug pulled from under us, and that's what happened.
It is problem. The problem was Long Legs was such a good film, right? It's Fly Me to the Moon. You can go up against Flight, but going up against Long Legs is a difficult one. And with cinema,
But guess what though? The audience testing said that we're better than Long Legs.
hmm, you know,
We did audience testing in Toronto, in Cannes, in LA,
yeah,
and people were saying that our film was better than Nope. So because we had the comedy, we had the horror, we had the sci-fi, our film was really punching above its weight because we had a lower budget than all these other films, but we didn't have the big names on it. But that's another thing is that sometimes you have The studios are like, oh well, we put 100 million into Fly Me to the Moon. How could we lose to like somebody like Lumina with no A-list names on?
I mean, from all the reports, I didn't see it. Fly Me to Moon was not good. But here's the thing, right? Because you don't need big names. Big names doesn't necessarily sell the film for you. It's the storytelling, right?
Right, right, right.
It's building those characters for people. It's letting them know why they should come to the cinema. Because cinema now, it's no longer the cheap date, right? It's no longer the thing that you can do when you're broke. Because it's so expensive to go to the cinema, right? Cinemas don't make money showing films.
No,
They
they make
only
money on concessions. Yeah.
yeah, that's where and so they want films that are gonna bring people in, and that's where it gets messy. I kind of feel what could be good for indie filmmakers, right? Is a load of people coming together, and then you rent the cinema on a day, and then you just show all your indie films. Like, make it a mini festival. You know what I mean? Show your films, have Q&As, right? And
Right,
then
right, right.
they can't fuck with you because you've got that cinema for that day or that 2 days or something. Or even when, because like, I used to work at the cinema, right? Like, Mondays, people didn't really come cinema on Mondays, right? So
Mhm.
beginning of the week,
Tuesdays, yes. Because
yeah,
Tuesdays like the cheap night, so everybody will go on Tuesdays. You know what I mean?
yeah. So
But you see, but going to that point, Kevin, and I agree with you that they could there could be different hybrid models. Like
yes.
what you're saying with the
So,
festival.
yeah, those
But
days show in
the problem that happened with our film was that they gave us times like 11 a.m., 1 p.m., and 2 p.m.
yeah, yeah.
So the theater wasn't trying to make money on our movie. We're a rated R sci-fi horror movie with a touch of with comedy that plays at a prime time audience. But 10% of our shows are in prime time, and 90% of them are like 11 a.m., 1
Mm,
p.m., 2:45 p.m. Who's gonna watch that in New York, in LA? Nobody. So the theaters right now, they could make money on independent films like our film, but they choose not to because they're beholden to the studio system. So
mm,
the studio films is where they're making their money, and the
yes.
independent films are like, okay, well, we can't have Lumina outperforming Longlegs or taking away box office from Fly Me to the Moon. So we cut them out and we give them a 11, 1, and 2 p.m. showtime. And all my friends at the studios were like, this is crazy. How could you not show it in LA? When it's trending so well, and we're trending just below Longlegs. And the fact that like our film is not boring. Because I saw Longlegs too. I got an early screening of Longlegs. The studio sent it to us to take a look at it, and we saw it. And you know what I mean? It's a knockoff of something of like Silence of the Lambs, in my opinion, from a
You
filmmaker's point of
think?
view.
I don't know about that. I mean, look, I think well, that's the beauty of films, right? Because we can both watch the same film and both have different opinions, right? Different interpretations of what happens. I did
Oh, of
really
course, yeah,
enjoy.
yeah.
I really enjoyed Long Legs. I didn't think it was derivative or anything like that, but
It
things
wasn't
can
scary
things
though.
can exist in the same ecosystem.
But you know what I mean, Kevin? It doesn't really. It doesn't scare. It wasn't the scariest film of the year.
I don't know.
Uh,
I did jump. I jumped a few times.
Nicholas Cage's performance and his makeup was like absolutely terrible in the movie. It was like Johnson and Johnson baby powder on his face. You know what I mean? And like I felt like and my friends did a lot of visual effects makeup for like Avengers and all these other movies. I'm looking at it and I'm like, really? And I saw it and I'm like, I find it dragged in my opinion. And it's not because it was going up against my film that I'm saying that. I'm saying that from a true filmmaker because I'm a big Nicolas Cage fan. You know what I mean? But I
Mhm.
just did not. And Maika Monroe had an excellent performance. She's a really great actress. She's good. But I felt the directing and the screenwriting and the pacing of the movie, like when critics talked about our movie, was not in line with like what you would see with like a Silence of the Lambs or like a Zodiac or like Seven. For example, Seven was like prime Fincher cinema in my opinion. So I feel
Yeah.
that Oz is trying to copy those, in my opinion, from a filmmaker's point of view. And That's why I didn't particularly like the film, not because it was opened up against me, not because they took our screens and gave it to them, but the fact was I just didn't like the film from a filmmaker's point of view. So it was kind of like, and they panned Crow as well, and The Crow was a good movie.
No, no, no.
You
Gino,
didn't like The Crow. You
Gino,
didn't like The
come
Crow.
on, man. Gino, come on.
You didn't like The Crow, did you?
Look, the problem I had with The Crow, right? So in the first film, and I'm not judging The Crow like the remake with the original, not doing that, but
Hmm.
because the original isn't a perfect film. But in the original, I did buy the relationship between Eric and I forget her name, the girl, his girl.
Right, right,
I
right,
bought
right.
that. In this new one, I do not buy the relationship.
You know why? Can I
Why?
tell you why you don't buy the
All
relationship?
right, tell me.
Romance, relationships are not the same as they were when we saw the first Crow.
Mm, I
The
mean,
the millennial audience that they're catering towards have a different sense of romance and attachment and a relationship. But from a relationship perspective, it looks different than what we grew up with the old Crow.
I
Relationships have evolved on in cinema, and that's actually a topic that we're
no,
not seeing the same type of relationships that we saw, how we would relate to it. That's why you just don't relate to it.
no,
But
no, no.
millennials relate to it.
No, I see. Now, I do agree, right? The way storytelling has changed over the years, right? And the way a younger audience can interpret things and, connect with things. But the relationship in The Crow, it just doesn't make any sense, right? Because we don't see why they might like each other. You know what I mean? There's nothing, right? There's a bit when they're talking and he's like, "What did you like about me?" And she's just like, "The minute I saw you, I saw an imperfect, what is it, like a broken imperfection or a beautiful imperfection." And I'm just like,
And
you don't you don't get
that's how
that
this
from
young audience.
looking at someone. You get that from talking to someone. That is such a ludicrous thing to say. Like the
Right, right,
script
but
was
that's our
horrible.
generation. That's our generation. We need that conversation. This generation is all social media and all visual and aesthetic. So they see things. So a woman will see things and be like, oh, I feel like because they get this sense of emotions from this guy because how he's dressed, how he's look, how his eyes are, and everything else, and they're looking at him aesthetically and making that judge aesthetically compared to our generation where it's like, well, let's sit down and have a conversation. Are you really a broken person? Are you insecure? Is this happening to you? It's like, we're used to the old school relationships, right?
Mm,
The
I
younger
mean,
generation like that. Like, oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I could see the way how he's dressing, he's rebellious.
Mm.
And they're
No, no.
judging that
So
based on
yeah,
aesthetics.
that's all well and good, right? That's all fine. I get all of
Right.
that, but you just then have to change the narrative, right? You can't go, it's this unrelenting love, right? You have to change the concept of the story because it doesn't work. You can say they lust each other, right?
Mhm.
They're in these throes of this other thing, but you have to change it. You have to modernize it, and they didn't. And I think that was a problem for me with the
Right, 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 right. So let me ask you a question. What did you think about um so I assume that you got to watch Lumina,
yes,
right?
yeah.
What
Watch the
now what is your perspective on my film in terms from a comedy and sci-fi
film.
and
Okay.
from a romantic perspective because you're talking about the romantic perspective, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So let's touch on that in terms of like how you feel about that.
Okay. We can get into this. We can break this down.
I love
Right.
you, and it's like for me,
Now, comedy wise, I didn't find it funny, but my sense of comedy is very different. You know what I mean? So like George is throwing out kind of like dad jokes. Now, if that's your thing, then you're gonna find it funny. But that's not necessarily my thing. I
Right.
do like a story. I'm more of the story approach to comedy. That's how I do it. That's what I like to ingest more. I'm
So
not
when you say story approach to comedy, give me an example.
like breaking down something that happened. You know what I mean? Like uh
So you like exposition.
kind of like expedition, but like
Your exposition then.
you're
You're
building this thing.
expositional.
You know what I mean? You're layering up this story, and then you're gonna hit the people with a callback, with a what I mean, like something like that. That's what I like, rather than just the what I mean. Well, I like curry goat, so you know what I mean. Like that's more of a dad joke to me. You know what I mean?
It's not really dad jokes. I think it's more like for me when I wrote the comedy when we were doing improv on set. It's like I grew up watching like stuff like Blazing Saddles and
Yeah.
the one liners and Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and stuff like that, and like In Living Color. So my sense of comedy is what I grew up with is in the film. So
Mm,
if you liked In Living Color, if you like stuff like Blazing Saddles or like some stuff in like 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy and stuff like that, you would like Lumina S type of comedy. Because some of it's slapstick, some of it's like really tongue in cheek and high camp. You know what I mean? It's exaggerated. Like I mean George's character, like situational comedy. That's what we are. It's not unintentional. You know, this is another thing too, because
okay.
critics and Rotten Tomatoes critics are really controlled by the studios, and Warner Brothers and Universal owns Rotten Tomatoes, and these guys are bought and paid most of the time to get their critiques. You know, that's what we face going up against, like you said, against Long Legs in our opening, because we were like, these guys knew what they're going to say before they even said it, and a lot of the critics we found was copy and pasting each other in terms of what they were saying, and then one critic made up an actual scene in the movie that doesn't exist. So when some of them said, "Oh, it's unintentional comedy," I'm like, everything was intentional in the movie. Like, for example, like George in a particular scene where he's riding a particular animal. Like I don't know if you
Mm,
remember that scene. You know,
yeah.
that in itself is kind of like Naked Gun type of humor, where
Mm.
you got somebody talking and then some crazy situation is going on in the background. So stuff like that is like situational comedy for me. So if you don't like that type of comedy, then of course, right?
Yeah.
But well, a lot of people do like
Yeah.
that.
Well, no, but that's the
It's
thing,
your
right?
sensibility. It's what you grew
Yeah.
up with. It's what you like, right? So like, myself and Ken, Ken was on the Parkers and stuff, and Ken has the same type of sense of humor like I do in terms of stuff like that, like In Living Color type of thing, or like Naked Gun or Chevy Chase, like and stuff like that. So that's the kind of comedy I infuse in the movie. So, I mean, I'm just trying to get your perspective in terms of like you said, like expositional type of comedy where you're telling give me an example of a movie in terms of like a scene that you would say that okay, this is funny compared to stuff I don't think
Okay.
is funny.
So trying to think of go through so many movies. So trying to recall a movie, but I will say just something that just jumps into my head that's like I thought is hilarious. Bert Kreischer's The Machine Story. Have you seen
Okay,
that?
no, I have not seen that.
All right, that is the kind of comedy I enjoy. I that's hilarious. Once we're done, just go on
I'm gonna
YouTube.
check it out when you tell me that. So
Yeah.
tell me another one that I might know because I don't know that one in particular. Which is
Oh.
rare that I don't know a movie about because I'm a cinephile. Very, very rare I don't know about a movie, but I don't know about that one. So give me another one.
I have to try and think of my memory is so bad, man. Jeez.
Okay, recently, what comedy did you like?
Hmm. there's not been a whole heap of great comedies, I will
I
say.
totally agree with you. I totally agree with you.
I did see,
Despite the fact that a lot of the audience said that our movie was funnier than some of the other comedies they saw recently.
yeah,
But
I mean,
it
I
depends
know
on the
there was
person, the individual.
something I saw recently, but I can't. I mean, I really did enjoy that Adam Sandler film, the "You're So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah." I thought that was very funny.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. But that's
like
situational comedy, like our movie.
I thought that was funny. I like Joyride. You know that one
Joyride.
Lionsgate put out. It was the Asian girls, and they were
Aquafina?
traveling. Sorry,
Aquafina? Was it Aquafina in that one? Or?
not Sherry Cola was in it. Aquafina. I don't think
I didn't.
Aquafina
I
was.
know the movie, but I don't think I saw that one though.
Yeah,
Okay.
that I thought that was very funny. I enjoyed
But
that.
back on topic though. What did you think about the movie?
Okay, I thought the production design was the biggest, like that was the hugest thing for me with this film. I really enjoyed that, right? The way that you created like those different scenes, and like at the beginning, like the when the window blows up, and you know that effect, like the kind of the vaporizing effects, like all of those kind of things, I thought was great. I really enjoyed that, like the spaceships and everything. I thought that was really, really, really good.
Cool. And what do you think about the acting?
The acting wasn't bad. I thought Alex was a little shouty. Like I'd have liked a bit more nuance with Alex, like
Right.
with some of his kind of, you know, interactions and things like that. But I thought the
Hmm.
acting wasn't bad. The acting was solid.
Alex. Alex is in he went to a very good school in London. I think he went to the Royal Academy. I think in London is where he went to school. So he's really into theater. When I was directing him, I had to, you know, take it down a few notches, right? Because theater could be very exaggerated.
Mm,
Um, and from my direction with Alex was, you know, he he's on edge after Tatiana disappears,
yeah.
and he really leaned into that, being on edge, and being uneasy because of what happened. And the reason why I made him play it that way was essentially, you know, with my interviews with Navy, with former naval officers, former military officers, U.S. military officers, and their experiences with abductions and UFOs and UAPs, um, a lot of them wasn't really a pleasant experience.
Mm,
So there always tend to be on edge when they spoke about that topic, reliving that experience. So I tried to convey that into Alex's character, that he would come across in that way. But at the same time, you know, when I first wrote this movie, I wrote this movie as a sci-fi comedy. So it still had to have exaggerated things like, you know, facial hair and other stuff like that was done intentionally for the exaggeration of it.
mm,
So I wanted people to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know what I mean? So it's still tongue in cheek, no matter what. Even though there is certain moments where it's like, you know, the acting, like dramatically speaking, they did an excellent job. You know what I mean? In certain parts where it called for, as opposed to the ones where it's more tongue in cheek and like comedy. But yeah,
yeah.
that was
I
the approach for that, Alex.
Yeah, I thought that oh gosh, it's Sydney. I thought Sidney Nicole Rogers did a great job with Patricia.
Oh yeah, she played it very well. She's a very good
Yeah,
actress. She's a
yeah,
very good actress.
I thought she did a really good job with Patricia. There was some things like I kind of feel at the beginning, right? You Alex is seemed a little tone deaf to Tatiana.
You
You
think
know what I
so?
mean? Like she voices concerns about Delia, and he's just
Delilah. Delilah.
Delilah, yes, and he's just like, you know what I mean? So you go from that to then him being so distraught, and I kind of was wondering if some of that isn't necessarily like him being distraught, but him feeling guilty for
Um.
not necessarily paying the
mm,
attention to her concerns and now it's too late. Kind of, I wondered that.
that's a good point. That's a good point. But it was more to the point of um he felt she was overreacting about Delilah because to him, you know, the fact that somebody would risk their lives and go to that extent to find out what happened to their girlfriend that disappeared showed his commitment to the relationship and his love for the relationship. It wasn't more guilt, but it was more love. But some men, as are like, oh, I mean, I'm not into her. I'm into you, kind of thing, and they
Mm,
and they shrug it off like, it's not a big deal, right? This
mm,
show's coming on to me. It's not a big deal. I love you, whatever. You know what I mean? They don't really
yeah,
pay no mind to it, and that was his way of being very nonchalant, paying no mind to it, because he's like, well, I love you. You're living in this place with me. Like, Patricia is in this kind of arrested development situation because she was on bad terms with her family. So she comes from a well-to-do family, but she's on bad terms with her family. So she came and basically chilled out with Alex and Tatiana while she gets her life sorted out. That's her situation, right?
mm,
But Alex's backstory is, well, you know what? I love Tatiana. Like, he had all the chances in the world to date Delilah, but it never happened.
yeah.
So they
But
remain
the,
friends. So he never really takes her serious. Now, I wouldn't say that like he's tone deaf, but I think that he's saying, well, you live with me. This girl moved away. She's just coming back for a party back into town. You know what I mean? Even if she has that kind of old flame for me, that's not going to happen, kind of thing. So he shrugs it off.
he does,
That's his
but
general thing.
he then was just like, you could stay here. You know what I mean? So there is that, like, yo, Alex, what are you doing, man? You
But
know
like,
what I mean?
because but Patricia's there, right?
Yeah,
Patricia's
but
there, and he's helping out Patricia in her situation right now,
yeah,
right? So
but Tatiana hasn't got an issue with Patricia, right? But she says she's got an, an issue with Delilah,
yeah,
and
right.
he's still like, oh yeah, no, don't worry, it's all good. But then he's just like, oh, you could stay here. You know what I mean? So it's just like, Alex, man, read the room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because but at the same time too, like when I was speaking to like Rupert when he was doing it, he was like, well, situation happened too, like she's a friend and stuff like that, and she's not gonna go away because I've gone to school with her. His whole backstory is like he's gone to school with her. He knew her before Tatiana, and nothing ever happened, right?
Mm.
So I guess you could say yes, a little bit tone deaf, or more like, okay, oblivious to the fact that what, I'm not in love with her. If I could help her out and stuff like that, I'm not gonna pay any mind to it. But some women could be catty, so like they're gonna be like, oh well, yeah, 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 eh, I don't like her. Why the hell are you asking her to stay over, kind of thing? You know what I mean? So it happens, but like yeah, I could see that. There's like it could go either way in terms of how people are reading his character.
Mm. Yeah. 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 So yeah, like we have the relationship. I think like you're watching the film, there could have been a just a bit more on like why, right? Why certain things, because it's just like you've got Patricia filming all the time.
Hmm.
now, like people are filming because they want, they're doing reels, they're doing stories, they're posting. So it's just like, why is she filming? What's she doing with all of this? You know what I mean? Like we don't really know. So it's just like, but why? Like, why are you doing it? You know what I mean? Like when you have George into the mix, he's kind of lechy. He's kind of lechy. And you'd think Alex would tell him to chill, and he doesn't.
Right, but George is the type of like, he's the type of guy that basically sometimes like, he's coming across in the way that like, he feels is comfortable. He's from like that old school. So it's kind of like, hey, what I mean, I can flirt with a girl and stuff like that. But in this day and age right now, that's not politically correct.
No,
You know what I mean?
but you can
So,
flirt with someone, right? You can flirt with someone, but like if someone is repeatedly being like, "Yo, chill, son," you then could be like, "All right, it's not happening."
but
Or
then
at least you
but
go,
at the
"I'll
same, but at
change
the
my
same,
approach."
right, but at the same time, it's not a drama. It's comedy and sci-fi, right? So
Mm,
that's the comedy in it. That's the
yeah,
humor in it. That's
but
that's the
yeah,
humor in George, that George continues to flirt and stuff like that, and he throws these things at it, and
maybe.
like it is funny.
But I kind of.
But
But,
going back to Patricia now,
all right, all right.
we live in the age of like social media and like bloggers and people going online and stuff like that all the time. So I mean, it's not you know unorthodox to see any woman like filming themselves and doing things like that and posting to their social media. So
But
I
she,
felt
but
like
she,
I felt like
she's
it's
not
too
posting it
much
though.
exposition. It's kind of like when I was sitting with Sir Ben Kingsley in his house. My first movie when he wrote it, and he's like, he was supposed to act. He was supposed to act in the movie that I first wrote about the deep web and Bitcoin, because I was the first in Hollywood to write about deep web and Bitcoin back in 2010, 2011, and I was consulting with the FBI that time. And I went to Ben's house, and Sir Ben was sitting with me, and he's like, Gino, I love the script. He's like, but I'm gonna give you a word of advice as a young screenwriter in Hollywood. He's like, don't ever change what you're writing. If you feel strongly about it, the studios, everyone else is gonna try to get you to change it. Don't change it. And second thing, show it, don't say it. So I always stuck with me when Sir Ben told me that. And he said to me, and Ben was like, trust me, as a young filmmaker that I support and everything else, and I love what you write, show it, don't say it. So, I mean, I could have said it with Patricia, oh, this is why she's doing it, but
Mm,
it's self-explanatory. It's the obvious. It's stating the obvious. Everyone in this generation right now is on the internet, is on social media. They're posting, they're blogging. What she's doing with it is kind of like that's part of her character, right? And it's like it's
mm.
almost to a detriment. Like it's some part of the movie where she's doing it, and they're like, "Well, why? This is not the right time to do this." You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? I'm not saying like you have this long thing of what she's doing, right? But like even if there's just a thing being like, yo, your likes ain't worth your life, kid. Let's run. Just something so you go, oh, that's what she's doing, right? Because there's sometimes you'll just be like, well, she might be doing that, or but why? Like, there's
But
certain
that's good though.
situations
But
where it's a
Kevin,
bit
I love
like,
that. But Kevin, I love that because you know why? It's ambiguity. You're
mm,
asking the question. It's in your mind. Why did she not say what it is? Because if I went out and I said it, I could have went out, wrote it, and said it. Because for me, it's kind of like I could have explained a lot of this stuff, but like I decided not to because I want people to talk about it. I want people to be like, "Why is she explaining what she's doing?" And then that becomes a topic of conversation. And then all of a sudden, people are like talking, "Oh, why the hell is she saying that? Or why is this guy not doing this?" And that's why I left it in there because I wanted that kind of ambiguity because it creates conversation. And that's the reason why I did it. Because like I said, all the stuff I did in the movie was intentional. Everything I put, like
yeah,
even the symbolism.
perfect.
Like I'll tell you, Kevin, there's one thing I'll tell you. and
All
this is
right.
you're the first person I'm saying this to. The opening of the movie
Yes.
tells you everything you need to know about this film and everything that's going on right now with the government. But there's a lot of symbolism and it's very subtle. And it was written, directed, and I did it that way. Like even the DP at that point in time, like I shot that scene in 4.5 hours. And when I
Huh?
told some people that, they were like, "Wow, 4.5 hours I had." I was shooting 16-hour days the day before, and the next day I had to shoot the opening scene, and all I had was 4.5 hours to shoot it. So I told my DP at that time because we lost Larry Smith because what, my initial DP was Larry Smith who worked with Stanley Kubrick.
Right. What happened with that?
He went back to London for 4 days to celebrate Christmas while we are shooting so he shot 3 days.
Yeah.
So the whole mansion stuff and everything is Larry. That's why it looks so beautiful shots. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And shot the first 4 days with Larry, my British team. Larry went back for 3 or 4 days to London because it was Christmas time, 2020, height of COVID, second wave, the
Uh.
second variant
Yeah.
happened. You remember in London shut down, nobody could leave London.
Yeah.
Right. So lost my camera team. I shot the rest of the movie with my first cam with my A cam operator who did a lot of stuff on Marvel. So I told her for the opening scene, this is gonna be it. No shot list, nothing. It was all in my head. I'm like, this is what we're shooting. Shot it exactly how it is. And the entire opening scene tells you about everything that's going on with UAPs, UFOs, and the government and the conspiracies right now, and also tells you exactly what this movie is about. The question is, a lot of people, and I've seen 99% of people that have watched the movie, have not figured that out and didn't ask any questions about the opening, which I found very strange because there was one guy on social media that talked about it, and I'm like, he gets it. And it tells you at the beginning, and that's the complexity of the film because some people will get it, some people won't get it. And it's true, like, when we did our test screenings, we had 90% people love the movie, men and women, all different ethnicities and age groups and everything else in Toronto, in LA. And, you know, one person said this to me, my friend, she works at Universal. And she was like, there's going to be an audience that doesn't get this film at all. And they're going to either love it or hate it. And that was the case.
Mm.
And, we created such a stir on social media that they had to sabotage us in our release because if they didn't, we would have been 1,000 screens. We would have been like, probably second at the box office. Um, and another thing too is that some of our ticket sales weren't reported. So that's another big investigation right now with our attorneys. One of my attorneys, one of the top attorneys in LA, and on the second day of our release, we're third at the box office behind Longlegs and Fly Me to the Moon, and it wasn't reported. So now we're doing a big investigation
Hmm.
about that. But going back to my whole topic, um, people are either going to love the film or hate the film, and they're either going to get it or not going to get it. But the important thing is, some people are very confused at the opening. But the opening really, really goes into the whole rabbit hole of conspiracy theories and everything about UFOs and UAPs and the government and everything, and the government and everything else that's going on. But can you identify it? Can you see the symbolism in the beginning? And if you can, then you'll understand where the movie's going.
Right.
So I'm gonna ask you, Kevin, because you're a cinephile. You know a lot about movies. You seem like a really intelligent guy. Like, do you did you see anything in the opening of this movie that stuck out to you? The opening scene.
See, the thing with like details and all of that, I don't see detail. I've got bad eyesight. So little throwbacks, little things that I will miss a lot of those things. Now,
Really?
yeah, because I just can't
But
see it.
you wear glasses, right? You wear glasses, right?
Yeah, but my glasses only put things into focus. They make things smaller to put things into focus. They don't make it bigger.
Ah.
Mm.
So,
So
so like, so the minute details then basically and stuff like
not gonna
that,
see
then
it. Yeah,
you're not
not
going to
gonna
see
see
it.
it. No.
Ah. But what with what you did see, did anything stick out to
Well, like as I said, I enjoyed the opening, right? It was intriguing. Like it's this interesting world, right? We got ships, we got this guy in this or whoever in this suit, right? Like what's happening? Where are we going? And then you have them pick up like you see some debris, so you're like something's happened. Then they pick up an iPhone and you're like, yo, wait, what? Like what's happening? Now, like at the end of the film, we realize what the beginning of the film is,
you? Ah, right. Okay.
right? So that's what I got from that. But yeah, any little subtle things you threw in, I'm not seeing that stuff. So,
Ah,
you
okay, okay. Well, if you ever get a chance to pay attention to the opening, you know, take a look at it. Take a look at some of the little things if you can, if you ever see them, and come back to me, and we'll have a separate conversation out of this, and then we'll talk about it. And then that is going to open up your eyes to some stuff,
okay.
and it's things that are happening right now with the government, and it's a history. There's a history. It's a historical timeline.
Mm. 'Cause I noticed at the end of the film, you throw in the card, right? Like the
Right,
1 in 200,
right. That's a
which
real stat, by the way.
yeah, I was curious about that. Like where does those stats come from? Because that's what I mean. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a stat that we got from our guys like MUFON and the other alien networks that work with the Pentagon and other people that have experienced and investigated abductions. Those are real stats.
Mm.
The public doesn't know about that because they don't really, they're not into, listen, they're not really into the whole UAP, UFO. Like all the congressional hearings that just happened, it's real stuff. I don't know if you heard about that, right? Did you hear about
Yeah,
the congressional hearing? Right,
yeah, yeah.
that's all real. So some of those guys, like, know the guys I know.
Mm.
Let's put it that way. And I've been down that rabbit hole for over 20 years, so I know. So a lot of the stats I put up there are not fake or like, laughable. They're real stuff. It's real stats. So the question is,
Mm.
you know, how does that affect your perspective in terms of UAPs and the whole alien phenomenon? And I wanted to put that in there because a lot of the people that I spoke to are affected by these experiences, by what they experience, and I thought it was relevant to put it there because it's a real stat that people don't talk about.
Yeah. I mean, I always find like stats are interesting. You know what I mean? Like I do communications, right? So having to do a lot of quantitative research and focus groups and different things like that. So it's all about data. It's all about getting stats, all of that kind of thing. But you can you can finesse those things, right? The amount of times I've been told to rewrite questionnaires because they want the questions to lead to something, right? So there's ways of doing it, and also it's just like whenever you send something out like that, you're never getting 100% returns. So
No,
so you're always like you might get 30% of people return like actually responding to the thing. So when you then get people right up, be like, oh, we got 100% on the survey, you're just like, well, you didn't. Because 100, like if you sent it to 100 people, 100 people aren't responding. You know what I mean? So I've always wonder about stats because I know how easy it is to, fuck with them.
so yeah, it's very easy to manipulate stats and stuff like that, right? But remember, these are not stats from me,
No, 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 no.
right?
No,
Right.
it's not
So
saying
this is
you
stats.
fucked with the
This
stats,
this
but
is like this is like stats coming from people who have interviewed, who went out there and spoken to millions in the United States
Mm.
that
But
have
again, but they can
the
easily
people
mess with
report.
that data.
No, it could be easily messed too, but
Yeah,
at the same time, it could also be like accurate within 5 or 10%,
possibly. But that's the
right?
thing, right? There is like,
It goes both ways.
yes, no, but that's what I'm saying. With all of that kind of stuff, it like I can't take it verbatim, but but it's not like going, it's not true. Because I think the universe is so big, there's other things out there. Obviously,
Right, right,
there's
right, right.
other things out there, but it's just like, what would they be? You know what I mean? Because we do get that thing where you can have everyone, and you've seen it with reviews, right? Where everyone says the same thing. And you're just
Yeah,
like,
because
have you not got your own mind? You're repeating the same thing as the other person. And so like
right,
when people talk about,
and Rotten Tomatoes is notorious for that
yeah,
because they all toe the line.
well,
And independent films going
mm,
up against studio films are going to face that panning effect because they don't want that competition at the box office for the studio films. They don't want to lose money in box office. So you got people repeating, repeating, repeating. But you see,
yeah,
in this case, though, in this case, I will say is entirely different because I spoke to guys. I spoke
mm,
to Marines. I spoke to former Marines that were on reconnaissance missions with 12 of the other guys are Marines, and they saw a spacecraft hovering 50 feet away from them. It was the size of a football field,
hmm,
and it hovered there for 30 to 40 seconds, and then disappeared. And then when they went back to debrief, they had to swear that they're not going to talk about this while they're in the military or
yeah,
while they're in the Marines. And these are normal people. They're not lying. They're not liars. So it's kind of like stuff like that. Like, when you hear that, and then you get stats of people and a lot of people don't want to come out and say that they encountered aliens because people think that they're crazy.
yeah, of
So all of a
course.
sudden, there's like a lot of ridicule that comes with that,
Mm, mm,
and that's one of the reasons why I did this movie. That's one of the reasons why I did it. But like, wanting to make it light on the lighter side so people could accept it and like, enjoy it in its entertainment as Hollywood, right? If I wanted to
yeah,
make a documentary, I would have made a documentary making like really serious, no comedy, everything else, you know what I mean? A docu drama. Like, and
mm,
so this is a documentary. But no, this is for Hollywood consumption. This is like a commercial film. It has to be entertainment, but there's a serious message with it though.
I
And
think
and you've
some
seen
of
it.
the some of the like sometimes it's you wonder, because when everyone's always just like, oh yeah, anal probes, right? And you're just like, I mean,
Yeah, but that's the funny thing about it is that they go to that right away.
yeah, no, but what I'm saying is,
And it's funny because I'm like, you guys are going to that right away. But how about this? How about a real story? Let me tell you a real story, right?
all right,
Here's a
okay,
real story. Here's a real story. The guy who did Fire in the Sky. You remember the movie Fire in the Sky?
yeah.
Yeah. His friend, I know his friend. His friend was one of the abductees that I spoke to. Literally, he came in their house. This alien entity came into their house, and time stopped, and they were taken into a craft, no, it wasn't anal probing. It was basically like they were doing like an analysis over their body, and they were
Mm,
returned. And when they were returned, the woman's husband next to her basically was like, you know, I don't know what happened in that last 15, 20 minutes. He blacked out.
mm,
And when they looked at the clocks had stopped. And this is a woman who's a believer. This is a woman who never believed any of this stuff. But it happened to her.
mm. No, I
So
mean, that's
it's not
fair.
about anal probing. It's about What's going on? When you have a spacecraft that comes next to like one of the foreign military officers I spoke to in his car while he's driving, in the desert because he lives outside out in the outskirts in like New Mexico, and the car shuts down and the time stops and his phone goes off like basically and it shuts down
Mm.
because you have this craft basically not that far away from him, and then he sees it fly away basically at almost speed of light, what I mean, and disappear like nothing that he's seen on a commercial craft or even military craft. you know those are the situations where people are talking about, oh, anal probes and stuff like that. Or you listen to congressional hearings with David Grush, and he's talking about, well, guys were killed in a firefight with an alien, you know, and these are first-hand accounts, and these guys, and then you have another guy coming on and saying, well, on our radar when we were on the battleship, we saw the craft come down and then it took away, and then also like, we had our fighter jets basically witness it like 20 feet away from them,
Yeah.
and those are real stories.
No, but
So
that's
like,
what
I
I'm
mean,
saying. No, but
so
that's what
so
I'm
so
saying.
all the
Yeah.
ridicule with the anal probing and all that bullshit that they want to talk about, like, yeah, that's people that are very superficial and they're stuck in the material world because there's
No,
a
no, no.
higher
But
level
yeah,
conversation to
but
that, right?
what I'm saying though, Gino, is
Right, right,
right.
right.
You have those other stories, right? Which those are the stories that you'd be like, yeah, that's interesting. That's like, but you have people that repeat this, you know what I mean? Just rhetoric, right? These generic stories where it's just like, I got taken in a room and they stuck something up my ass. And you have those people that then make it that people roll their eyes because you're
Oh
just
yeah,
like,
definitely.
why?
No, I agree. No, Kevin, I
That's
agree. I
yeah,
agree.
that's
Definitely, they
what
have those guys, but they're
yeah.
but they're fakes.
Yes, that's what I mean.
But these are
That's,
these are real guys at the congressional hearing.
yes,
So
no,
they went they
but
went and
that's what I'm
swore
saying.
oath,
You
right?
throw in
And
the other stuff to make people roll their eyes, right?
but you know
So
what that
that's
happens?
what you have to
You know what
filter
that happens
through.
though? You know what that happens though, right? It's a
Yeah, of course.
disinformation. It's a
Yes.
disinformation
No, but that's
program.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like
It's a
that's
disinformation
the
campaign
problem with
that
it all.
is aimed at the public not being educated on certain topics, not asking questions about certain topics. So they're like in the dark about it. So people are not asking and not questioning the government because the government doesn't want to be questioned.
Mm, yeah.
They don't want to be
But
questioned. They don't
mm,
want to talk about. They don't want to talk about the fact. Well, you know, uh, we have cold fusion technology, we have this technology, we have anti-gravity. We could take this train from New York to LA within a matter of 30 minutes, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. Like, they don't want to talk about that technology because that technology is progressive to humanity. And if you're going to block that type of technology, it's going to change things. You're no longer relying on fossil fuels. So you're no longer relying on oil and gas. You're no
mm,
longer relying on the things that basically are here to control you and take away all your disposable income. And and then when the government starts talking about, well, we have this technology, oh, well, why aren't we getting that technology? Why is that technology not commercialized? Why is that not available to the average man or woman? Oh well, I mean, if that happens, then we're going to kill all the oligarchs in their businesses. Free energy can't be. That's the same thing with Tesla. Edison basically undermining Tesla. It's historical, and then we're seeing it right now, and they throw all the anal probing and all that bullshit in, so people will be like distracted. Oh, these people are wackos. They don't know what the hell they're talking about until you confront it.
mm.
Until
But it's
until you're until you're in a nuclear silo, with one of the guys, that our team spoke to, and all the nuclear controls are shut off when they saw unidentified flying object
mm,
basically close to the nuclear silos. So all of a sudden everything shuts off. How do you control that? How do
yeah.
you? And these guys don't believe in aliens. They've never seen it, and that's the first time they experience it in their work. They wasn't expecting an alien to show up, and then all of a sudden all the controls are turned off and
Mm.
deactivated. That becomes a different conversation.
Well, yeah, but it's finding those conversations, right?
Right, right, and that's why
That's
I
the
did the movie.
problem. It's
That's why I did
breaking
the movie.
through all of the nonsense to get to the actual facts, getting to the actual stories.
Right, and that's the reason why I did the movie. I wanted people to see, hey, I can laugh, I can enjoy this, but guess what? This stuff is real. It's a comedy, yeah, it's sci-fi, it's a bit of horror. What I mean? It's like that it's like the chase sequence, almost like Predator kind of thing at the end. But like it still has real facts and concrete stories behind it because these things are happening and it's going to happen. Like I think in the next few days we're going to have another congressional hearing about it, and it's Luis Elizondo and a few other people, and they're talking about the fact that we're going to have another one soon. I think it was within this week or next week, and
Okay,
it's going to
I
be a
didn't
big
hear that.
expose. This one is going to be different than the other one. There's going to
Hmm.
be a lot more. There's going to be a lot more exposed in the next one because they went into the skiff. And when you do a skiff, a government skiff, you're not allowed to talk about it
Yeah.
outside of it, right? Only the members of the Congress are allowed to like talk about what shared amongst themselves with the government, that particular government department. But this one, I think, is going to be a lot more open, a lot more open. This
Hmm.
one, because people are beginning to question. Well, um, we saw things. What do you want us to do? Our NDAs are done, right? So you put it in Hollywood, but one thing that's funny about Hollywood is like, some of the stuff that you see basically is what happened.
Yeah.
But it's entertainment, right? So it's disguised as entertainment.
Well, and if you show if you show certain things, you talk about certain things in a certain way, it then becomes unbelievable, right? You put it in a narrative where then someone thinks it must be make believe, even if it might be real, right? It's that disinformation of the subject matter.
Well, I mean, if you control the media, you control everything, right?
Mm.
You control the medium. And if you control the medium, then all of a sudden you control the message, and the message to the people that, and the medium that you're giving to the people is like, well, I mean, this is just entertainment, guys. Like, I mean, don't take this seriously until it happens,
Mm. Yes.
right? Until it happens. Like, for example, good thing, like and they drop it on you last minute because like what's going on right now in Africa. My friend from Senegal said, he said, the youth in Africa right now are rebelling against the neo-colonial policies that are going on in Africa right now, and it just came about just like that in a matter of a split second because the youths never spoke about it. They just came out in numbers and protested against certain things. And we're seeing in the Sahara region and everything else how things are changing. And that's how entertainment is. Entertainment is, oh, well, it's not really happening. And all of a sudden, it happens.
Mm.
It happens. And they drop it on you. And, like, it's a split second that things can change in this world. Like, like even before in 2004, 2006, I was telling my parents and my friends, I'm like, 2020 is going to be a really big turning point for humanity. And everybody's like, "What are you talking about? That's not going to happen." Then 2020 came, and of course, everything was a big turning point. Even back in 2008, when I was talking about like AI is going to like replace most of the jobs, 60, 70% of the jobs, in the 2020, and like, in the next 10, 15 years. And look what's happening now. By 2030, at least 80, 90% of the jobs are going to be changed, even in the film industry.
Yeah. No, I mean,
And the film industry is a key one because you know why? Humans still want to see humans.
yes.
If it's not animation or anything else. So it's going to be tougher. It's going to be tougher to rule out um, the humans, unless an AI is advancing at such an exponential rate. Like we'll see, maybe it might be AI talking, like how we're talking right here, and we're like, whoa, that looks real.
I think like because when you've seen those videos, right? There was this trailer. I think it's like something in Paris. So I think it was called, and it does look realistic. But there's always that thing that throws you off, right? Where you're
There's
going,
something.
that's not real, right? And I think AI. can write films. It will be able to write films, but it's the type of films that you find on Hallmark, right? On sci-fi. It's not gonna write an Oppenheimer, right? It's not gonna write the Cube. It's not gonna be able to write anything super layered and sophisticated. It's just gonna be your average rom-com, right? Your that kind of. I think AI can
You think
write
so?
films.
You think so? No,
Yeah.
I think it's going to advance to the complexity in the next like 4 or 5 years that this it could write Oppenheimer in like an hour.
No. I think you'll get uh,
The problem you're going to get though is not writing it,
no.
is the believability of the AI CGI actors,
Well,
and whether we could relate to that and whether we could see the difference, and if they have that type of emotion, and if if aesthetically, and like if aesthetically it could fool you enough to believe that is really a dramatic performance. That is what you're talking
yeah, it's interactions, it's relationships, because that's always the thing that can throw me out of a film when you're watching something and it's just like, I do not buy they're a couple, right? I don't buy they're best friends, right? That can throw you out of a film. It's getting those kind of nuances. And I think that's
about.
going
Right.
to be the big thing. Like there's technical jobs which AI will be able to do for sure. You know what I mean? Like you
Hmm.
just say, look, take out all the red light. You know what I mean? Like do the like it'll be able to do those kind of things, but then there's just gonna be some things that it won't be able to do, you know. But I think it will get rid of a lot of lazy ass people, right? There's a lot of lazy ass, untalented people in roles where you're just like, that motherfucker shouldn't be in that role. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, 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 yeah.
So
But
I think
you
I
know,
think you're gonna lose
honestly, everything is subjective though.
that. Mm,
I've seen a lot of people like love like really garbage movies in
yeah.
Hollywood, and I'm like, how do you even love them? You know what I mean? And then you got guys who have like seen our movie, and then you have critics saying, "Oh, I hate this movie" and stuff like that, but other people saying that they love it. So it's all subjective. You know what I mean? For me, I think the future um, of cinema really is depends on how united people can come together and stop anything that's trying to take away, you know, stuff like movies and film, which basically like we want to see real human interactions, and whether we could unite to stop something like that. Because once AI takes over, it's going to take over a lot of things,
Mm,
and it's going to create a
yeah.
lot of problems for people, and we're already seeing it already.
Hmm.
Like I mean, even like even down to like truck drivers and stuff like that. That is something that they want to replace too. Robots loading trucks, and then it's taking your grip and your lighting equipment to set, and then, oh yeah, it's a robot there. It's no longer a guy.
Yeah. I mean, there is that. There is that for sure, you know. But
So
I
let me ask
think
you something,
there's
Kevin. So let me ask you something, Kevin.
yeah,
Would you recommend Lumina for people to see this movie?
it depends on what people like, right? Because that's my whole thing, right? I don't rate films like 4 out of 5, one a thumb up or blah blah blah. Because my thing is everything is very subjective. Right? I
Right.
don't like the Harry Potter books, but millions of people love those books. And I feel anything that brings people to reading, all power to it. You know what I mean? So
Right.
to go, you should not read Harry Potter. Like, how can I say that? Right? But I can say, look, I don't like Harry Potter, but if you enjoy, let's say, I don't know, Twilight, if you enjoy Divergent, then you might like Harry Potter. That's how I like to do it, right? So if I know the type of films that you like, right, and I go, oh yeah, Lumina will work. You're like Lumina. Go watch Lumina. Right? That's how like I'll do things. So it depends on the person, right? If I think someone's gonna dig it, I'll be like, yo, go check that out. If I think no, they prefer a film that does this other thing, I'll be like, maybe it's not for you.
Right. Interesting.
Because
Interesting.
like there's things for like you like The Crow. I don't like The Crow. Right? It's all subjective.
I
It's
didn't love
all
The Crow. I didn't love The Crow. I
okay.
like I like the cinematography, and I like the fact that they aesthetically had a beautiful images and beautiful cinematography, and like they tried to reinvent it, but I mean, did it fall short in a lot of ways? Yeah.
Mm.
Was it such a terrible movie compared to some of the movies that I felt was like extremely boring? No. I think it's enjoyable. It's entertainment at the end of the day, right? I mean, if
Yeah.
I'm going into something like Oppenheimer, you know, I want to be entertained, but at the same time, I want to see like brilliant dramatic acting. I want to see people really act in the movie, you
Mm.
know, um, and stuff like that. Like, I mean, it depends. Like, I mean, if I'm just going just to see Crow, that's for entertainment purposes, and yeah, I want to see the cinematography. I want to see everything else. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to beat the original. The original is the original.
No, but that's the thing. You're not trying to beat the original. You're trying to create your own path, right? And that's the big thing. A lot of times you have things that are like trying too hard to duplicate what that original thing is. Like have
Right,
you seen
right. But it's
Alien
ingrained in you.
Romulus?
It's ingrained in you because we saw the Crow, the original one, so we love it. Right. So anything next to that's not going to be as good as the original. You
I
know,
don't know. I don't know.
you're already in a subjective frame of mind already, going
No,
into
no,
seeing a new
no.
Crow.
I would say not necessarily. Right? I can watch something and I can look at something else and be like, yeah, that's on par with, right? Or actually prefer that to the other one. For
Right.
me, Rogue One is as good as Empire Strikes Back. Like they're my favorite Star Wars films.
I love Rogue One.
Rogue One is so fucking good.
Rogue One is a great movie.
Yeah.
Rogue One is better than all the new Star Wars series.
Yes. Or
It's
most definitely.
Rogue One stands alone because all the other stuff, all the other recent like standalone movies that they didn't start the new Star Wars series were garbage compared to Rogue One.
Oh god, Solo was so bad.
The Solo was bad, but guess what though? It
Mm.
was beautifully shot. The
Well,
VFX, the
yeah.
cinematography, woo!
Mm. But that's
They call
yeah.
like the black DP is an amazing talent, man. They call him the Prince of Darkness because he loves shooting dark, and
Right, right.
his cinematography, that's his nickname in the industry, and his
Okay.
cinematography, man, he's a brilliant cinematographer. He also shot Arrival too, but Arrival was garbage for me. That was like a really boring
You
movie.
didn't like
But anyway,
Arrival?
Arrival was terrible.
I loved
Denny
Arrival.
Villeneuve is boring.
Nah, I really liked Arrival.
Unless you're watching Incendies or Sicario, it's different. But I mean, like Denny Villeneuve is overhyped and he's boring, and he's a he supports neo-colonialism, with the whole French thing and everything else, and he has movies that I feel like drag. I really don't think he's not on the level of like what was the name of the director that did Rogue One again? He's a British director.
Gareth Edwards, wasn't it?
Garrett Edwards is a great director.
Yeah. No, Gareth Edwards is very good.
Yeah. I rate guys like Garrett Edwards over like people like Denny Villeneuve. To be honest with you, Villeneuve had like Sicario and Incendies. I think that all the other stuff that he did basically is overhyped.
Oh,
You
you
know,
didn't like
Dune
June?
Dune one was I watched Dune with my editor Tom Noble, who's a Oscar-winning editor who worked with Ridley Scott. You probably know his stuff. He won the Oscar for Witness. He did Thelma. He got nominated for Thelma and Louise. He did Red. So that's
Mm.
my editor. So Tom is my editor for this movie for Lumina, actually.
Yeah.
And we cut it, and when we went into it, we cut it as a comedy. But Tom is brilliant, and him and I go and see movies at the Academy. And yeah, we watched Dune, and we're like, this is terrible.
Interesting.
And it ended early. It was like it was incomplete. The editing in that movie was incomplete. The second one was better than the first one. Had more action.
But I think that was the intention of it.
The intention was, but at the same time, he's just propagating neocolonialism. You have a tribe on a planet that that is people of color, and the guys from the stars are coming down to take over again, and then they have this the white savior complex, which is Timothy Chalamet, and he's coming to save the local indigenous tribe, and he's a French colonial. That's the reason why I don't support Villeneuve, because he's
Mm.
Canadian too, and I grew up in Canada, and I know exactly how Quebecois and the French think. And people don't see that. People don't see the neo-colonialism that he's interwoven into his movies.
No, but that's in the book.
Yeah, and he exaggerated it in the movie. Like all the locals have blue eyes.
No, but that's yeah, but that's in the book though.
That's what I mean in the book, but you know, it's not hitting home with audiences of color. To be
Mm,
honest with you, and I've spoken to a lot of people of color, and they're like, "Yeah, but this is like neo-colonialism."
yeah,
And
I
then
mean,
and then and then Zendaya's the one that he ditches at the ending, and then he goes for the other girl who basically is from the stars, who's the white girl. Like
yeah,
I mean,
but
that
again,
that
that's in the book. Like all of
yeah,
that's in the book. Like I think the one the difference in
but but
from
then but then at the same time, and I know that I know it was David Finch who did the first one, right?
no David Lynch.
David Lynch. Yeah.
Yeah.
David Lynch did the first one, right? And everything else, and we knew that, and they had a problem from then. A lot of people, a lot of audiences, and even Arabic. Like my wife is Moroccan, for example,
Mm.
right? And she went in and she saw it. She's like, "So where's all the Moroccan people? Where's all the Arabs?" My friend was in one of the big scenes in there. She's a big stuntman in Morocco, and he was in Dune, and he told me he shot it, and you know, it doesn't depict the indigenous population, and the representation is not there. And I'm not trying to be on this DEI, woke, say,
Mm,
oh, you're
mm.
woke and this kind of stuff. No, 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 no. I'm not about that. But I'm tired of seeing neo-colonial movies that paint people of color, indigenous people, as lesser than, you know, and it
Yeah.
feels like, and that was my problem with David Lynch's first one, because
I
I
mean
like him as a
yeah,
filmmaker,
I
and
mean the
then
first one was
Villeneuve is just exaggerating it even more. You know what I mean? Even in the book or not. I haven't read all of the books, so I can't speak to that fully, but I could see what the messaging in that movie, what they're trying to tell you in that movie. And for me it's kind of I never enjoyed that. And even Tom even saw that too. He's like, yeah, okay. The first one was boring. You thought it was gonna end like for example, I think somebody got up and went to the washroom that was with us, and they came back and they ended. I'm like, it's done? Really? Yeah, going to part two. I'm like, what happened? You know? I don't know. That's just my opinion. For me, it's kind of like I'm seeing all the. I'm just not into the brainwashing. I'm not into supporting neocolonialism and what it's done to this world and Africa and the Caribbean, because I'm from Trinidad and Tobago originally, and it's something for me that I saw it right away in the movies, and I'm like, I thought they were gonna veer away from that, knowing that people are a lot more, cognizant of what they're watching now, and they're not you can't just it doesn't go over their head anymore. Like they could sit in the movie and be like, okay, what are you trying to tell me right
I mean, do you think people are more clued up on like I watched Lee today,
now?
right?
Okay.
And there's two black people in that film,
Hmm.
and one of them doesn't I don't even think we got her name. right? We got all the other characters' names, and but this one person, and she's just sitting there, and then that's kind of it. And we don't see her again. And I think that's some craziness for
The
me.
whole Hollywood, the whole Hollywood is craziness, my friend.
Well, yes.
Like I mean, in terms of the racism that I face it on, and discrimination that I faced throughout the years. Like I mean, look, I was the first person to write about the deep web of Bitcoin, and I consulted with the FBI, and they wrote an article about me in 2010, 2011, and House of Cards comes a few years afterwards, and season two, episode two, they took entire paragraphs from my movie. The whole season two, episode two of House of Cards is all about the deep web and Bitcoin,
That
and
was
have
from the
paragraphs, and have word for word paragraphs from my movie.
so
And my lawyer came to me. He's like, if you go and sue, you're not going to you're going to get blacklisted in Hollywood. You're not going to be able to like do anything with your career because you're so young in the industry. And that was the reason why I never sued,
okay.
because I was the first person to write about it. It wasn't
Mm,
House of Cards. It wasn't Netflix. And the Library of Congress and Writers Guild of America West has my copyright, has my script, because I was the first person to write about it in Hollywood, and it was
mm.
shared at all the top agencies, CA, WME, ICM, everything else, UTA. They all got my script. They all read my ideas and everything else. And then you get a movie like Anna with Luc Besson, and like half of the movie is my action scenes. And Anna, like she walks in to kill these guys in the restaurant and everything else in Russia, and the entire scene is basically in my movie that I wrote like 15 years ago.
That's a Jennifer Garner one, right?
Nope, nope, that's the one with Helen Mirren and Luc Besson. It's called Anna.
Who's the main character?
Main character is this new Russian girl. She's a model. And Helen Mirren's in it. Like a number of A-list names are in it, and Luc Besson directed it.
Hmm. I don't. I feel I know that film, but I can't.
Oh yeah. Well, if you watch it, it's basically half of the action scenes are stolen from my movie, from my script.
Yeah, that's rough,
It,
man.
yeah. So like, I mean, for me, it's kind of like when I came out with Lumina, it was like a breath of fresh air. I got to go put on my movie and get to do something that creative, experimental, that's tongue in cheek, and that's why like I got so
Mm,
much pushback on it, because Hollywood prefers to, like, some people in Hollywood prefer to steal your ideas and actually help you develop ideas and come out there, because I'm a director of color, so
yeah.
it's not the same. It's like different strokes for different folks in Hollywood.
Mm,
And I'm not using that as an excuse, because I didn't. I fought through it and I got my movie made, even though I went through so many obstacles to get it done and get it to the point of distribution to be sabotaged. But that's why we're coming out with the second one on September 20th. You know what I mean? And this Friday, and we're going to keep on pushing, because I have a great movie. I know that if it was garbage, I'll say, yeah, my movie wasn't that great. I could have done something better, but I know it's good, and it's gonna find its audience. It's gonna find the audience that loves the movie and that gets it and everything else. And that's why we continue to push, because I've been there. I've been in a movie theater watching my stuff, my content on screen, and it's making hundreds of millions of dollars. And you watch your stuff on screen, or when you're streaming. Yeah,
mm.
and it's not the easiest thing to see or for you to experience, because you can never get accustomed to seeing your stuff stolen and taken from you, and sometimes what I mean, you're thinking, and you're second guessing and doubting yourself, like, okay, what do I do?
Yeah.
you know Even though the only good thing about it is, oh, my stuff is good enough.
Well, yeah. If people want to, if people are gonna steal, then there's got to be something worthy for them to steal, right? They're not gonna steal rubbish.
Oh no, it's still rubbish. My stuff is not rubbish. It's just that, like, my first script was one of the it was the first time I wrote about the Bratva, the Russian mob, and it was a story about the first female Bratva member in the Russian mob. And the center of the story is about deep web and Bitcoin. And that's when I consulted with the FBI on that, the entertainment division of the FBI. And yeah, nobody ever wrote about it before. Nobody wrote about deep web and Bitcoin in 2010. They don't even, it came out afterwards. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
then and this is a crazy story I'm going to tell you quickly. The director at the time came to, because I wasn't directing at the time. I was writing and producing.
Yeah.
Came up to Toronto. He sat down. We did a rewrite on the script, and I did it in about 2 days. And he turned to me midway through because he was there for about 4 days, and he said to me midway through, "What do you think about writing this script for Denzel Washington?" And I'm like,
Mm.
Denzel's born the same day as me, by the way. I'm December 28th. Denzel's to 28. I grew up a New York Knicks fan. Denzel was a New York Knicks fan, and I'm like, I have another script I'm working on that I want Denzel to do, but this one, I want to keep it unique, and it's a female action movie, and it's about the deep web and Bitcoin. It's about the first female assassin in the Russian mob.
Mm.
I want to keep it that way. 1 month afterwards, a writer in Hollywood wrote Equalizer.
Hmm.
What is Equalizer about? Denzel infiltrating the Russian mob. There's a
Hmm.
whole and I have receipts for all that documentation. I'm not joking about that. I'm not
Mm.
saying that. And guess
And
what? Michael Sloan, who's the creator of the series, I met him afterwards. He
okay.
didn't write he didn't write the script though.
No.
He got the script from the other writer from the agencies who read my script. And then Michael and I became friends, and that's the next movie I wrote was Spider's Web with
Okay.
Michael,
Right. 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 Right.
which
Right.
is like Looper mixed with World War Z. And he heard my story, and I told him what happened, and he was shocked.
Mm. I devil's advocate, infiltrating the mob isn't a new concept. So it is something that maybe someone came up with just,
Not
serendipitous.
infiltrating the mob. It wasn't infiltrating the mob. It was the first female member of the Brat Front.
No, yeah. No, 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 no. But I'm saying like someone infiltrating the mob. Like,
Oh
you've been
no,
like in
my my
Equalizer.
my, my movie my movie is not like
No,
a
no,
Johnny
no, no.
Brasco.
I'm saying the
No, 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 no.
Equalizer.
Right.
Not your script. I'm saying the Equalizer script.
Well, Denzel goes in and he attacks the mob, right? Yes, but at the same time, the mansion, the shootout, different things in that movie is all my movie.
Okay. I haven't read your movie, so I don't
There's
know the similarity.
I'll you know what I could do? I can send you a script and you can take a look at it. I'll send you the first one back and you'll see the date on it and you'll see WGA. You can check it out. Library of Congress. FBI has an article with me on it. You'll see. Yeah, and
I
then
mean,
like even the establishing shots. So like for me, it's kind of like I watched, and then it was so funny because a friend of mine who used to manage Christopher Plummer,
okay.
um, who Christopher was supposed to be in Lumina, by the way.
Ah,
He
okay.
got sick that year. I was supposed to go and shoot him out in Connecticut, and then he died a week afterwards.
Ah,
After I shot the movie, but he was supposed. Christopher was a good friend of mine, and he was supposed to shoot the. He was the original one cast as Tom in this movie, other than Eric Roberts, to shoot this
right.
movie. And yeah, his agent said to me, he's like, when your stuff stays too long in Hollywood without being made, people take the idea.
Mm. Yeah.
And I'm
I
like,
mean,
yeah,
you've heard that so
yeah,
many
yeah,
times.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they do take the idea, and the deal was the best idea. It was one of the best female action scripts in Hollywood, since Salt.
Could it
And
still get made?
yeah, I'm working on it right now, but I'm gonna revise it though.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
have,
yeah.
I have, I have a completely different idea for it that has never been done in Hollywood, that no one is talking about, and yeah, I'm gonna redo it. I'm gonna redo it. But right now, I wrote a script, a different one, a sci-fi script for Denzel. I want to pitch. It's
Mm.
amazing, absolutely amazing. It's not comedy. It's straight sci-fi action. He's never done a sci-fi movie before like this, and I think, I'm hoping that, like, once I get some more street cred with this movie and it goes out there and it redeems itself, that we can go and pitch it to him. 'Cause I think it's a great movie because he's never done sci-fi, and I would love to direct him too because we're both Capricorns. we're both New York Knicks fans. That's it, man. So
Hey, you know what I mean? Like, whatever could get you that foot in, man. You know what I mean?
I mean, you know what? People thought it was impossible for me to, like, direct and write and get a movie in the theaters. I did it. Thank God. So I mean, nothing is impossible once you put your mind
No, of course not. Let me ask you about the alien design.
to it. Okay, cool.
Where did that kind of concept come from? Like, how many um interpretations did you throw around before you settled on that?
I had about like two or three interpretations that I worked out with a friend of mine who's a concept artist, and then I gave it to Todd Masters, and Todd Masters does all the Predator and Alien stuff. He was the first one to work with John McTiernan on Predator, the first one. Um, then I sent it to I sent it to him, and he created the creature suits. And as you can see at the end of the movie, you see the creature suit. But I the reason why I changed it, and I decided I started to overlay it with VFX and CGI on top of the actual creature suit because we didn't get our stunt actor who was supposed to be 6'7" and stilts. The alien was supposed to be super huge,
Right, right.
and because we're shooting during COVID and it was one of the most difficult times it was to shoot a movie, we basically um had to use someone else, another stunt actor that was shorter and couldn't perform in stilts. And we felt that it was necessary to overlay it and make the alien bigger and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and to make it look much more visually appealing than just going straight with the creature suit. It would have
Oh,
looked tacky with the creature suit.
mm,
So I had to make that decision with my VFX team.
right. Okay.
But it
Like
was
what
inspired by Predator and Xenomorphs and everything else like that. But
yeah.
um, that's the inspiration for it. But we didn't copy it, but it was the inspiration, though, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. What was the hardest like visual effects on the film?
The creature.
Okay. What
What I
about
what I what I wanted to do, and I did this on purpose. I made some of them like more video game animation like.
yeah.
And the reason why I did that because I wanted to throw people off. I wanted them to come back and say, "Why am I seeing different aliens?" And it'll be a talking point.
Okay.
I wanted to keep it still campy and still comedic at a certain point.
Mm.
Because sometimes and it's still like a bit of venom in there and stuff like that. But um, some of the creatures are it's so funny. Some critics said, "Oh, the creatures are terrible." Um, no, I saw a few of them. Like a few of them definitely are extremely well done in terms of the visual effects. And my friend who was a VFX supervisor on Avengers and 300 and did Mandalorian and stuff like that for Disney Plus. When he saw it, he was like, "Yeah, these creatures. What you did with it, man, with the budget is amazing. They look really good, look
Mm.
excellent." He said some of them, I think they could have done better and stuff like that. But he said some of them are like extremely well done. And I felt I got a lot of vitriol, a lot of criticism for some of the creatures when it wasn't necessary because some of them are really well done.
No, I thought I as I said, I liked I thought the effects and the production design was like so good. The aliens
Thank
were
you, I
good.
appreciate it.
I did. My only thing was that it like, and I say it's not a copy, but there is that similarity, that kind of in the ballpark of Alien Predator. So it would have been fun to get
I was
something.
paying homage to it. I was
Yeah,
paying homage really to Predator, to be honest with
mm,
you, and Alien.
but
And
that's
that
fine.
was done. That was done purposely. I was paying homage to them because,
Mm,
I spent a weekend with John McTurner because he was supposed to direct my first movie, and John was telling me about his experience with Predator and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you know, really good guy. We didn't work out, but like we said we were collaborating on something in the future. But it was really really paying homage to the guys I grew up with. Watching their movies like Predator and stuff like that. And that's the reason why I
yeah,
did that.
I mean, yeah, that's fine. But watch it. I was just like, that's cool. I wish I'd got a different kind of something I've never seen before, but it still worked. You know what
One
I
of
mean?
them was though the one of the last ones were entirely different. That people said were entirely different. They haven't seen it.
Well, there were, yeah, as you said, there were different creatures. So it's not like every single, you know what I mean? You're not talking about every single one.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But you're talking about the uniqueness of it and stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's true. Yeah, yeah. I think on my new movie on Michael Sloan that we're doing right now with this with the sci-fi and the creatures, Spider's Web, the one I'm working on with him. I think that one has unique creatures. Oh yeah, you
Okay.
haven't seen those before.
All right.
So that
I,
one, that I'm
I
working
look
on right
forward
now.
to check.
Yeah,
Because,
I look forward to sharing that with you sometime.
yeah. Because I remember listening to, did you ever watch Babylon 5?
Yes, I did, but not every single one though. But I watched
Right.
some of it. Yes.
Yeah. And I remember listening to an interview with J. Michael Stransky, and he was talking about when they were conceiving it and getting it together. And he's just like, I wanted it to be different from Star Trek. Because in Star Trek, a lot of the aliens have just got like a few lines there, and that's a new alien, right? And he's just like, yeah, and so
Right, right.
wanted them create these different aliens and have it like so, and then it's just like it costs so much money. It costs so much money and so much time to do. So sometimes you just have to throw a few things.
You gotta scratch your head and be like, hey, you know what? Let's try some. But you know what? It's so crazy because there's so many different types of aliens. I think everybody has tried everything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Though I think Alien Romulus did a good alien though.
I thought like, yeah. What are your few? What are your views on Alien Romulus?
Um, the first hour was terrible, boring as hell. After that first hour, good action, good visual effects, good scares. I thought it was a good movie. Um, however, I could completely lose the first hour. To be honest with you,
Mm,
it didn't get interesting to me till the hour in.
uh-huh. Okay, interesting.
Didn't get interesting to me till the hour in. After that, it was good. It kept my attention.
There were things that I was just a bit like miffed about, right? Because they all grew up together, right? That's what we're meant to believe. That all these are all friends, right?
Hmm.
But then you've got that one guy, I think his name was Alfie, and he hated, and he was all going up against David, right? Being like, like he's a robot and he's,
AI. Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, but it's just like, but you grew up with him, so you know you know what I mean? Like the hatred didn't necessarily make any sense to
I
me.
think I think they tried to create conflict,
Yes, but it didn't quite
and
work.
it
That
didn't
didn't
quite work.
didn't
Can I
work.
tell you something? Can I tell you something? That black British actor that played the AI,
Mm.
he's amazing.
Oh yeah, he was very good. He was very
He's a
good,
very good actor.
believable at that role.
His
He was
his
great.
his emotions, his
Yeah.
facial expressions, his ability to convey the AI and then switch into a completely different AI, more aggressive
Mm.
and forthcoming, was very interesting.
Yeah,
He
no,
was he was a standout actor in
yeah.
that movie.
I thought,
He's the best actor in the movie.
yeah, I thought so. I thought he was very good. I thought
He's very good.
that you had that problem of a group of people, right? And you don't get to know most of them. So you know most of them are dead because we don't
You
know
see,
them.
this is my problem with sci-fi, Kevin. Lumina, you get to know the actors.
Mm.
That's the reason why I spent so many time with them in the first 45 minutes, for people to get to know them. So when something happens, they're attached to it. That's what I hate about some sci-fi movies I've been watching. Even though I love some of them, like, I just want to think about that. But some of them, I feel like you don't get to know the personality.
No. Well, it happens in, like in horror and like, and so you know who in action, but like you know who's dying because we don't know that person, right? Well, sometimes you don't even know their surname, so you're like, okay, they're dead, right? They're not making it to the end because we have no information. Like we went into half an hour on that one character, so we know they're making it, but those
Right.
other ones, they're dead, right? And that was, I think, that was a problem with Alien. And then I just think I did like it. I thought it was good. It wasn't Prey. I was hoping for a Prey type film
Prey
because
was good.
I
Prey
thought
was good.
Prey
Prey.
reinvigorated the franchise. And I think
I think
Alien.
I didn't think it reinvigorated. I think it was a really good movie. I like Prey. The female lead in it, she was very good.
Mm,
I love the approach that they took from the native indigenous approach. I
yeah.
thought it was a brand new look of it. I don't think they reinvented it, but I believe
No,
that
no, no, no,
they
not.
added a nice story to it that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Not reinvent it, reinvigorate it, because I didn't
Oh,
care about
reinvigorated,
the
yes, yes, yes.
franchise. I didn't care about it up to that point. I was bored. But after watching Prey, I was like, I want to see another one. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I'll be invested in seeing another one. I think with
Yeah.
that one, but you
I
know,
think they're filming a new one. Supposedly, I heard it's meant to be set in feudal. I think that's the word. Feudal
Japan.
Japan. Yeah, that's what I thought.
That would be a good one with samurai.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I'm super intrigued.
you
Super
know why?
intrigued.
Because I love kung fu and and uh, and like samurai movies and Japanese
Mm,
anime. That to me, yeah, that would be cool. I
yeah,
think that would be really cool. I'm
yeah.
invested. I love the whole Predator franchise. Like I said, I spent time with John McTiernan, and Predator was one of the movies that made me get into sci-fi horror. You know what I mean? So that was like really starting myself into like that genre that I loved it. You know what I mean? As a
Mm,
kid growing up, and to actually meet with John and John wanting to work with me and he loved the script that I wrote and stuff and wanted to do projects with me and stuff. That was like it was a nice feeling to know that. You know what I mean? That you
oh,
grew up
man,
watching
yeah.
this director and watching him do like stuff for Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and now he wants to work with you and he likes your material. Like, you know what I mean? So that was cool. That was
Oh,
really
I
cool.
I can only imagine, man. I can only
Yeah,
imagine. Did you watch Event Horizon?
yeah, great movie.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That was
Great
a good
movie.
one. I very
Great movie.
much.
I think the only two movies me and you don't agree on is basically like Long Legs and The Crow.
Yeah. I keep on hearing them
And the
saying,
fact that Lumina is a funny movie.
okay, but
Kevin Kevin likes a unique type of comedy and humor, but our movie is that slapstick kind of Blazing Saddles, that kind of stuff. We got that kind of humor in our movie,
mm,
and it's situational comedy. And yes, our movie is comedic. So
see,
everyone, make sure you go out and
yeah,
watch the movie.
but that's fine though, because I feel if anyone that listens to these conversations, these reviews on the they know the kind of comedy that I like, right? So if I say that wasn't my kind of thing. Everyone, you get it. Because I didn't like Naked Gun, right? I didn't like Naked Gun. I didn't like,
Wow, bro.
yeah. I don't know. I
That
didn't
so did you like Blazing Saddles in those movies too or no?
know. I don't know why.
Wow.
I don't like Goonies. Everyone loves the Goonies.
So
Everyone loves
in Living
Goonies.
Color?
I hate those. I've never. We didn't get Living Cover in the UK,
Oh.
so I've
So
never seen it.
that's why. So it's not really that you didn't think my movie was funny. It's just like you never really liked that type of comedy.
Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah,
but
which
that's
is
what I
fine.
say. But that's what I
That's
say,
fine.
right? I'm not that
It
it's
doesn't make my movie a bad movie though.
no, 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 no.
No.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't give things
Ah.
ratings
Okay, well now I
because
understand you.
if
Thank you for explaining that,
yeah,
Kevin, because now I
if
understand more.
yeah, because
Yeah.
if I give something a rating, right, I'm trying to dictate to you that this is a 10 out of 10. If you this is an 8 out of 10, this is a 6, this is a 3. You know what I mean? Where it's just like what I like might be different to what you like. So I'm gonna say these are the things that work for me. These are the things that didn't work for me. And if you liked this film, this film, this film, you might like this.
Uh-huh.
It's like I didn't
You
like it
may
End
like
of Us, right? I didn't like that film, but
which one? Which
it
one
End
didn't you
of
like?
Us. You know, the
Which
Blake
one?
Lively film, that romantic thing with Blake Lively and Jenny Slate. I forget who else is in it. Manash Raman, he was in it. It was a recent film. It came out. It came out when Deadpool and Wolverine came out. So that was a whole thing. That Ryan Reynolds had a big film. Blake Lively had a big film. But
Really?
yeah, it didn't work for me. So when I'm talking about it, I'm just like, look, I didn't like it, but if you liked Anyone But You, right? If you liked, you know, like some of these other rom-coms that have come out with, then you'll like it. You know, so I think people can, if you give people a barometer, you can gauge how you feel about something.
Yeah,
So like,
exactly.
yeah, so that's the thing with comedy. Like, I feel people know the comedy I like and the comedy I don't like, right? And there's big
Right.
films that I just don't. I don't. For whatever reason, it does not translate to me. You know what I mean? But
Which is
it's
all
not the
fine,
same.
brother.
It's not.
As long as you like my movie.
Yeah.
So Kevin, I wanna tell you something. My phone is gonna die,
Okay.
and I gotta charge it.
All right, you go. But before you go, how can people keep track of everything you're doing? Because it sounds like you got some big things coming.
So Instagram, Lumina the movie, Gold Up Pictures on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Gold Up Pictures. You can see all the trails, everything else. Gino McKoy. You know, I'm verified on Facebook and Instagram. Check me out there. Movie's coming out September 20th. In theaters in the US, November 1st in Canada. Thank you so much, Kevin. It's been a pleasure, brother. I look forward to talking to you again.
Awesome, man.
And God bless to you, man. And thank you so much for supporting independent films. And yeah, go see Lumina, man. Enjoy it. And
Yes.
it's comedy you will like.
You heard the man. Go watch his film. Go watch his film. The link's on the website. Gino, this has been great. Thank you so much for your
Take care,
time.
brother. Take care. God
Bye.
bless, brother. Thank
You
you.
too, bro. Bye.
Bye.